If you think you have to spend $200 on Serum and another $100 on good drum kits to make digicore, you're absolutely right. I mean, who in their right mind would even attempt? First of all, the best stock FL Studio plugin for digicore and the closest you'll ever have to Serum is GMS. GMS, or Groove Machine Synth, is available on all versions of FL Studio, and if you look for long enough, you'll find some pretty good sounds for digicore in here. I found this preset called Fat Saw in the basses category, but when played in higher octaves, it actually makes for a nice lead. So I laid down this chord progression, which is probably the most common one in the entirety of digicore, and put a simple melody on top. Notice I mainly use the first, second, third, and seventh note of my major scale for the top melody. So in the scale of G major, which I'm in right now, that's G, A, B, and F sharp respectively. These are really good for digicore top melodies. I also use a lot of these kind of slide notes, which you can make like this. They make your melody sound more interesting and bouncy. You can also use GMS to make your own sounds, and in digicore we usually use very basic synth sounds that are very easy to make. Check this out. Open another GMS instance and load up the default preset. Switch the first oscillator to a square, set the amount of voices to 8 and the stereo to around 30%. And now you have a simple square synth. Now I'm going to share a trick I've been using a lot lately. Duplicate your first melody to a new preset and move all of the notes from the top melody 2 notes up in your scale. So in my scale, which is G major, G becomes B, A becomes C, and so on. This creates a nice harmony for your melody line. You can also duplicate your bass notes and put them an octave down to create a thicker bass layer. Or 5 notes up in your scale, or 7 semitones. So select your bass notes, hold Shift, click to duplicate, and while still holding Shift, click the up arrow 7 times. This also creates a more full-sounding bass layer. Another stock FL Studio plugin that can come in clutch for digicore beats is minisynth. Most presets here sound pretty ugly to be honest, but there are some good ones like the Zuno lead. The sound is very long though, so I turned down the release. This sound can also slide smoothly when 2 notes play at the same time, which adds more variation to your harmony and also makes your melody sound more interesting. And now, I will teach you how to make the nightigerxo SC saw lead. Open up, you guessed it, 3XOSC. This video is sponsored by Nightiger YouTube Shorts. When was the last time you used 3XOSC in a beat? But what do you know, you can make some pretty cool stuff with it. Change the first oscillator to a saw wave, and the second to random noise with 10% mix level. Make the third one silent. I like to turn on high quality as well. On the volume envelope, set the attack to 3% and the rest as usual. And here's the sauce. On the pitch envelope, set the decay to 7%, everything else to 0, and the amount to maximum. In the tab with the range icon, set the maximum amount of voices to 1 and turn on mono mode. And there you go. Here's what we have so far. Now we need a bass pluck. GMS has a nice preset in the basses tab called Bass 8-bit. Just make a simple pattern following the chord progression. And now the drums. Oh boy. The default FL Studio drums are horrible for the most part, but we are artists. It's in our nature to find the beauty in the broken, even if it takes half an hour of scrolling through the most atrocious drum samples created before the ancient pyramid. So I found this basic 808 hi-hat, and increased the fade out to make it more snappy and less cringe. This clap, and increase the fade out again. This clap, and increase the fade out again. Yes, that's a good method of making the default FL Studio drums better, because they're usually too long. Also this crash, which I actually increased the fade in for to make it more smooth and less snappy and more of an ambient cymbal. And this kick, which I cut out some high end from, which makes it sound more trap-like and less EDM-like. I routed all of the top drums to a channel with effector, and specifically the lo-fi effect, which is just a simple bit crusher and makes it sound more 8-bit, which we do really often in digicore. It's supposed to sound digital after all. I made very simple patterns, with the hi-hat being just a 2-step pattern with 2 rolls and the crash accenting the kick on the most important beats. To make the kick hit harder, I sidechained it to the bass pluck and the melody with the fruity limiter like this. And together they all sound like this. Now we can add some simple transitions. I found this crash, reversed it, cut off the end and put it before the drop. I also found this perk, cut it off the start, made it more quiet and put it right on the drop. And I think we're done with the beat. I also want to mention Geem's free GMS bank for digicore, which you can find on YouTube and it's actually really good. And also the plugin Sower, which I haven't mentioned because it's only available in the more expensive FL Studio versions. And Sower has this really nice preset called FG4 bits from the Best tab. And that's how you make digicore to stock FL Studio sounds. I don't believe it's a good idea to make any genre of music using only the 500-year-old FL Studio sounds, but it is possible and I hope this maybe inspires you in some way. Hope you enjoyed this video or learned something new, and I'll see you in the next one.